forward-facing statements and slides. We're going to talk to you about our product. We're going to review the roadmap, the latest slides for what's coming out this next year. We're going to talk about the vision and the direction of the product, and we'll talk about 24.4 specifically. I have a demo for you of the features that went out just this week in 24.4. So if any of you haven't picked it up yet from my support, we'll be able to you'll be able to pick up those features and use them today. So we'll also have a Q&A at the end of the session. So Fabio will be running a Q&A, and he will take questions throughout the session. We'd like you to hold your questions till the end. So just give them to Fabio as we go through, and then we'll collate those questions as we go and certainly answer all those questions. So without further ado, I'd like to talk about the product and some of our the latest enhancements that are going into the product, and more importantly, from a broad range, what is AppEnhancer? And AppEnhancer is our platform for document management within OpenText, and that's around building document management as a core competency for other solutions or departmental solutions or core applications within a business to allow extensibility for documents across an organization. That gives you access to document capture, document indexing, document management overall, so viewing and redaction and manipulation of the documents, signature workflows and stamps, and integration with other applications. So through our embeddable viewer, through our RESTful services, and through our document interface, it allows your users to interact with documents across all of their products, multi-cloud, multi-platform. And so it doesn't matter if it's on-premise or it's in the cloud, we can span all these different products and provide a centralized repository for document management. When you have that, now you have the ability to govern those documents and protect them, to provide security.
Okay, let's see. I think we lost audio from Cody. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me see if I can get Cody back. Just give me 1 sec.
Yeah. Hey, Fabio, can you hear my audio?
Yeah, we can hear now.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Yeah, so something happened with the audio there for some reason. Okay, so fix this. Okay, yeah. All right, so back at this slide. Fabio, where did the audio stop?
I guess when you're going through the slide here, yeah. So
okay, yeah. So really looking at the overall platform, again, it's around document management overall, but capture, indexing, bringing document viewing and annotations and all the advanced document features to the end users through our APIs and through our basically all of the interfaces that we can expose to your applications, whether that's the document interface through the embeddable viewer, whether that's our REST service, whether that's the crypto interface and our HTTP interface. There are many ways that you can integrate applications with AppEnhancer without having to build it directly in or build document management directly into your application, for example. We also bring that governance and retention capability, workflow automation, integrations with Microsoft tooling so that you can bring documents from your repository to knowledge workers in the applications they're working in without having to duplicate that information. So having a centralized document repository is what AppEnhancer is. And then its extensibility lets you build out the footprint that you want. When we talk about where we're going with it and what our vision is for this product overall, it's really around adding some of the newer technologies we brought into OpenText from Micro Focus, some of the newer technology that we're creating for our UI frameworks in the JADO framework that you may have seen this week at Enterprise at OpenText World. But really, it's around building tools that we have access to, bring our technologies into AppEnhancer so we can make it a better product. And you may have already seen the intelligent indexing tools that we built in for, as far as our IDLE integration is concerned, and that's a replacement for Explorer. But more importantly, it brings the IDLE technology stack to AppEnhancer so we can start improving our indexing capabilities with more advanced document types. We can start bringing in more support for things like barcodes and more advanced documents like JSON style documents or documents that are full text not just full text, but like XML, more complicated document types. That said, we also, want to use idle technology like the key view to be able to do better viewing of documents in those advanced document types. Not only can we index them, but we can manipulate them as well. Having OCR capabilities built into the user interface lets us have rubber banding, and I'll show that today. Actually, that's something in the new connector tool. We're also adding screen scraping there, but really from governance to building the new user interface we'll talk about today to building out a whole new deployment model for the product with cloud deployment capabilities and Kubernetes and Docker, further bring our product to the cloud in a way that you can build out the footprint that you need, just like you always have been able to, but it doesn't have to be on premise. We also have simplified workflow engines that we built in that lets you choose the workflow you want to use. Today, you can use AppWorks, but we've added a new workflow engine called Flowable, which is a free workflow engine that we're building into the product. And that will allow you to do document routing, simple review and approval with an extensible interface that's free. Flowable is a free tool, and sometimes you just need basic workflow, and that's something that's being built into the product now. That said, it's all about digitizing and connecting your information. So, AppEnhancer brings you a interface to bring documents in and work with them very quickly. You can classify that content with our indexing tools. You can quickly find them with our powerful search engine. You can manipulate them with our viewer, and you can control them with our role-based access. You can integrate this product with multiple products using our APIs, using our HTTP interface, using our connector tooling to embed AppEnhancer components in your solution. And so that's why we find ourselves all over the place, because this product is very easy to decide where you want to put it and how much of it you want to use, and bring document management to all these core competencies without having to have duplication of documents all over the place or islands of information. It really brings more value to these apps without creating these silos of content. Once you get it there, then you can start using this workflow tooling we have and the new embedded workflow engine to start routing documents and creating your own custom workflows for these documents. And then at the end, it's about protecting this content and ensuring that all the information is protected within AppEnhancer, that your granular permissions are applied so that you have all the rights that you want to assign to these files, this content. And then you can support all these different authentication systems across the cloud or across your organization. So it's about protecting the information and governing it. And then using our retention engine to figure out how to dispose or contain that information for its life cycle. So that said, I kind of want to change gears now and talk about our latest release, which is the 24.4 release. And this release is one of two that we do every year now. We're in a 2-release cycle, and we're starting to work with a long-term, short-term release cycle so that we can have a better support and allow people to hop on with newer features more quickly at the beginning of the year. And so you'll start to see us transition to that in 25. But today we've got two. We've been doing a very good job at having 2 releases a year. And so we want to kind of stick to that model and be able to have a long-term support and a more like early adopter release as we move into this 2-release-a-year cycle. That said, for 24.4, the desktop connector was one of our new innovations that you saw in the last release. That's something that we're continuing to build upon. So I'll show that today. There's some more indexing tools. We're adding a screen scraping utility to it. The rendering services, the updated storage and retention module, including that's more around all the modern features that we want to bring for the next release. And so for here, we're talking about reinventing the service as a pure .NET engine and getting rid of the managed C++ components, making it a lot better for us to modernize the application in the future. Our O365 support is around bringing the viewer for O365 directly into the viewer, like we did with the OOS capability. I'll show that today, and that allows you to manipulate and work with Office documents stored in AE. We'll show that today and what the future of that looks like. Lastly is the productivity tools around Rubber Band OCR. That's an indexing capability in the web, and our multi-workflow capability. So you can use AppWorks and our new capability as workflow, or as Flowable rather. So before we get into the roadmap, I'm going to pause here and switch over to one of my sessions for my server here, and I'll just start by showing you some of the changes in AppEnhancer 24.4. So for this, use Chrome. And the first thing we're going to do is look at the AppEnhancer administrator here, which is going to show us a lot of the capabilities that we've added for some of the new workflow engines, as well as the capabilities around and our workflow and our authentication. And so let's go in here real quick. If you notice, we have an OTDS capability to sign up for OTDS servers. We also now have an OAuth capability that lets you have a OAuth server. For example, in this case, since I'm going to be demoing Microsoft technologies for all the Microsoft Viewer for Office 365, we have our login here for the Microsoft Online server. One thing you'll notice is you need to have the ability to work with email and work with files within your Office 365 account. So when you set this up for your users, you're going to need to, when you set this initial authentication management up for your auth provider, you'll need to set these up so that your users can work with content that gets pushed back and forth between this server and a 365. So just quick note there. Also, what's been added, we'll go and look at the servers here. These are where our workflow servers are now added for the environment. You notice that we have the OPA, which is formerly AppWorks. Your OPA server configurations are here, and your flowable configurations can be added here as well. And you'll notice we have a flowable engine that's running, and we can use the flowable UI, which in today's integration, we're just integrating directly with a flowable engine. There's no UI elements built into AppEnhancer per se, other than the same inbox that you would see like with AppWorks. In the next major releases, in the next 2 major releases, we'll start adding canned workflow elements to this so that you can have basic document routing built into the product using Flowable. But this first integration is mostly just to get the integration between the 2 engines. So we now have the API server and the UI server for Flowable, which the UI for Flowable is similar to what you would see in another, like any other workflow product. It's front end. So, and we're not going to go, I wasn't prepared for a flowable demo, so I might not know, I might not know which page to pull up for that, but that's the endpoint that we are using, and that's the UI process API for the server itself. And so in any case, we're just at the beginnings of this, but this gives us 2 engines to connect to for workflow elements. So that said, those are really the major changes you see. You'll also see in the retention filer, we've added an additional service. This is the new updated service, so you can still run the old retention filer service if you wish. If you want to upgrade to the new .NET retention filer, that's here. They use the same rule set. One is faster and one is packaged differently so that we can containerize it. And that's why you'll see these 2 is it allows you to have a dual operation if you want to run the old retention filer for a while, or if you want to continue to run the old services. Once you upgrade to the new services, you'll use this lower account, and then over time we'll retire the old service altogether. So if you look in the service console, it could be a little confusing for customers that are running both. In this dev environment, you'll notice we have a new retention server and the old. We're actually running both, but that's for dev purposes. If you're an integrator, you'll probably just run the new retention service if you're starting fresh. But it allows you to run both now because we can support both today from the same rule set. So again, next release, next 2 releases, we'll start adding new retention rules and policies that you can start using for the new service, and those will only apply to the new service. So those are the changes that you'll see from the administrative perspective. We're going to go ahead and open another tab and look at more the web access side of things. Some of the things you can expect to see here. Fabio, are you still hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, so the first thing I want to show is the Office 365 integration. So if you'll notice, I'm logged into the Azure AD today for this particular user. And in the document viewer options, you'll notice that there's an open with Office 365. What I can do, if I get back out of this screen, I can go look at my scripts application here. Just one of many that I have with some Office files in it. And in here, when I open it, you'll notice there's an open in Office 365. When I open that, it will launch and connect to Office 365 with my current connection. I was already connected earlier. If not, it would force me to the Microsoft screen to log in with my account, which since we're already logged in, and it's being used across all these platforms for my login. You'll notice it opens it in OneDrive, and today's integration opens Office files in a read-only mode. And what we do is we transfer it to your OneDrive, open it, and then when you're done with it, we remove it. And what I mean by that is if you look at, I'll open another tab here. Let me just get this unpinned. There we go. Yeah, so if I open a new tab and look in my OneDrive, you'll notice it creates a temporary location in the OneDrive Let's give it a second to load. Called OpenText AppEnhancer. And if we look in the OneDrive, you'll notice that it creates a temporary file, similarly to what you would see in our backend, but it caches the file. We need to move it in to be able to use it. If I go and close that, as soon as I close it, so if we close this document, we go back to the query results, get out of the document. We go back in here and click on My Files. You'll see it won't even show it anymore. And if we go back up to the higher level in My Files, yeah, there's nothing, that folder's not there anymore. And so what that means, if we go back in here, you'll see there's no more AppEnhancer folder. What that means is the only time that you might have a problem where it gets left behind is if something breaks right in between of these transactions. If you never actually close the file, or your server completely disconnects from the system at the time that it's open and will only leave a file behind. We do absolutely everything we can to remove these files as we use them. So if I go back in and I open up another doc, you'll notice back here at OneDrive, if I refresh this page, it'll show that folder back and it'll have cached content in it. My files. Let me make sure that we opened it. Yeah, here we go. So again, the process of this is streaming the content securely to the OneDrive so that we can open it in OneDrive and manipulate it. And then as soon as we close the OneDrive or close our session, there's a cleanup that happens where that content gets removed and you won't see it any longer. So we never saw it the first time because it didn't refresh the screen. But if we go in the next time we can remove this document or get out of the document itself or close our session, this will be cleaned up. So you'll see it'll probably give us an error here indicating that there's something wrong or it's missing. Yeah, the files are gone. That's how the OneDrive integration works with AppEnhancer. And then Fabio, I'll have you keep an eye on those questions as they come in, and we'll just ask them at the end of the session, if that's okay, Fabio.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so other items that are in here. So we can look at how. Let's just go into something with some subpages or anything with. Actually, this wouldn't be the best. I'd like to show you the OCR functionality for rubber banding, and what that allows you to do is if we pull in a piece of content like let's say this TIFF right here. So we have a TIFF content. We can go in and modify an index. And inside of an index, when we're indexing, you'll notice there's a new control in here. Depending upon the real estate of the screen, it'll show on the toolbar or down here. This is a rubber band OCR. If you click on that, it allows you to draw text around a specific piece of text on, anywhere regionally within the content. And it will OCR that content and bring it in as the index value. So as you're indexing the document, you can click an index, click rubber band, and just rubber band it, and it'll automatically bring that data in. So again, if I modify, I can select that index data and go and highlight text, and it'll automatically OCR it on the fly and put it in there so that you can rubber band. Yes, you can rubber band in anything that's viewable here in the text in the viewer. So anything that's viewable here is an image that can be sent to the rubber band OCR. PDF, TIFF. Textual data is a little different because it's already text, so it just selects the text. But so rubber band really doesn't do anything in a text-based document per se, because you can just copy from it anyhow. But anything else that's an image-based document can be rubber banded. So that's how that feature follows. Lastly, I'd like to show you our connector enhancements. So if you haven't seen the connector already, we've added some additional features here to do some checking for the files that you bring in and out. The connector itself installs a PDF writer. So if you go to the printers, you'll see it installs a PDF writer that's built for the AppEnhancer environment. I'll just print a test page really quick to get something in. You'll notice here's our file. We can double click the file to see what it is. I'll just bring it up in a viewer or in the web page. What we'll do here is a new feature. You can create batches today. We can also now create direct documents for applications. So in this case, I would select an app and it'll load all the fields for the app, and then we can just directly index that content right here. I'm just going to index it as a demo. And so now we've created that document and it's pushed it into AppEnhancer. If we go and look in the AppEnhancer environment here, I can go back and search. And in here, we should see that demo test that we just created right here at the top. And here's our demo test. And actually, I can show the rubber band again. We can just pull this off. And this is a PDF. In this case, I can rubber band this PDF and just say OCR this component, this area here. And we just OCR'd it to that index. And you can do that with multiple indexes and kind of just work your way through the document. So just another way to intelligently index files in the application for yourself. So, another option for users that are doing batch indexing, for example. Okay, so that kind of rounds out the demos as far as 24.4. And this is out today, so you can go and get this off the my support site. I encourage you to check out these features. Check out the new Flowable integration. If you know anything about Flowable, it directly integrates with the Flowable engine. We'll have more to come, actually demoing all the UI capabilities of Flowable. But this is more of a back end thing for people to get started with it if they're already familiar with Flowable as just a back end workflow. Similarly to our Skelta integration, how it leveraged a lot of the back end engine for everything except for the inbox. And so something to see there. So again, any questions you have with those items, we'll answer those at the end of the session. But I'm going to go into the roadmap now and talk to you a bit more about our strategy. But first, we're really excited about the involvement of everyone that's been bringing content to the community pages. We've got several ideas that have come in. We put our news and our events here. We're also starting to put our patch release announcements here. So any new patches that come out will be announced here. So really encourage people to go to the community and check out what's out there, bring your ideas, and just bring your voice for this product. There's discussions there to have discussions with with external users, with anyone that's using the product. So really encourage you. And I want to thank everybody that's come and used it and brought your ideas to OpenText so we can bring those to our roadmap. That also said, there's another test that I'd like you, the teams to all participate in across OpenText, across and anybody that uses this product. Really, we want to hear from our users. We're in the process of building out our Jet assisted takeoff UI, which is, if you heard about JADO, it's a new UI framework that OpenText unveiled this week at OpenText World. But our UX team is working on revamping our UI to be more modern and more in line with OpenText standards. And that said, we've mocked up some screens, we've got some ideas, but we don't want to break this product. We want to make it more efficient and more user-friendly, more intuitive. And in that case, we have some screens we've created. We have some surveys that we'd like to have you go through. And so you can scan this QR code here on the screen. Fabio's going to add a link to the chat here as well, and we'll add that same link at the end. And that link will get you into the survey, and you'll be able to go and see some of the new screens that we're working on, like the one that's screenshotted here, for our new UI. And again, this is what you'll see in all the UIs across the new flagship products within OpenText as we all adopt a similar framework across the board. And so again, we've talked a lot about all the UI rework we've done. We've started that journey already. We've done some surveys already, and this is just to add to it and really to show you some of the work that we've been doing behind the scenes to make this a more fresh UI for the product. Okay, so let's get into the roadmap. It's really what we're working on over the next year or two, and really features that come from the ideas exchange, come from interactions with big customers, with our top accounts, with people we work with in the field. And so in this case, we talked a lot about 24.4 and what we released this year, the retention services that we changed, the OCR capabilities, the O365 integration, that Flowable integration, some admin adjustments for multi-tenant. We also have support for AWS for VMs. So we fully support support AWS environments. If you're using virtual machines, we'll support you there. There's no question there. We're working on supporting more of the Kubernetes style containers deployments in that platform and others, and you'll see that in our next release. So, moving into that next release, that's one of the first things to talk about is certifying for containers so that we can deploy in a containerized environment for like in this case AWS, but we want to be able to support across all the platforms. And in that case, you'll see more and more cloud readiness around building Helm charts and Kubernetes capabilities in 26. But really, we have some need to target AWS initially for some big customers. That said, we're also working on enhancing that desktop connector. So what you saw in the connector is just the beginnings, search and retrieval capabilities, hotkeys for the connector, that screen scraper, which should be moved into 25.2. We're trying to get it in 24.4, but we're really looking at a 25 angle for the screen scraping. But again, it's bringing all the connector capabilities that we had back to a more modern engine, and then being able to have users have a desktop footprint for their environment that they were used to with desktop, a more rich featured environment where they can bring content in and out to their desktop applications. They can print to the environment, they can search and retrieve, do basics without having to go to the website. And so that's what that connector is for. And you'll notice as we move throughout this roadmap, the connector has more capabilities, like bringing in folders, so you can have hot foldering or drop folders for, or a drop zone to drop content, so you can get it back into the so you can get it in the system quickly. The screen scraping capability, to get it into the system quickly. Also, building out back to 25.2, that's again we were talking connector, is around that new user interface. Really, getting the feedback from that survey that I just showed you earlier is really, really important for us, because that's about modernizing this experience within the product. And we want to do that in a way where, we can still keep the classic environment there, have the existing UI still be functional behind the scenes, kind of like what OpenText did with Suite 16 is, you've got your main UI that's our new flagship UI, but if you still have functions that aren't covered in that UI, you can flip back to the classic mode and on demand and use that classic mode and get that same function. So we're not retiring it as much as starting to move away from it, deprecating it, and then slowly retiring it. And I think that's the best way to serve everyone that's using AppEnhancer. That said, it's fully WCAG compliant, and that's the big goal here is to have a compliant and future-proof UI framework that we can use moving forward for AppEnhancer. Lastly is in 25.2 is around building out more intelligent classification with, we did support for the zonal OCR. Now we want to have barcode support built in for indexing as well. So we can use barcodes to classify documents, to split documents up, similarly to other indexing tools and scanning utilities. Enhancing the retention policies for that modernized retention engine is really important for our customers. And you'll see that in our 25 releases. The workflow, building out those predefined workflows is really important for the functions around Flowable. And so if we don't want, if we're using Flowable as our built-in workflow engine, we'll be able to have basic document routing out of the box with no charges, just free through the Flowable engine. So you'll finally start to be able to do some things that we used to do with our old workflows with action technologies where we had built-in doc routing. You still had to purchase the workflow for that. This is a built-in workflow. And so that's really important to note that it comes as part of the core package. And then you can add additional customizations to that for your own workflows with that built-in workflow. And so that's something to remember if you're an integrator. Advanced document support is really important to some of our more advanced customers. JSON and XML style documents are all over the place in financial industries, for example. And so we want to be able to better view and manipulate those types of files. As we move out in the future, being able to take what's in our repository and put it to work is really important for a lot of our case management style use cases and people that are doing loan processing and people that are working with client information that they're working on a case, for example. All of that in those cases, you're summarizing or working with a group of files, a group of documents that are part of a case. We'd like to be able to bring some of the Aviator and GPT tooling, some of the large language model capabilities that are out there into AppEnhancer by being able to summarize content. If you have a result set of documents you can work with, you can today run ad hoc text searches against those. You can submit that textual content for a more intelligent search where you can get insights from that content, insights around, whatever the gist of the content is, or specific questions that you might ask about the content itself. And so extracting detail from that is really important to knowledge workers, and that's what they're doing with a lot of these documents already. But more importantly, we could also use those same capabilities to index the documents intelligently. So a couple different things you could go after for use cases around AI with the platform. An intelligent classification, and that's more about building in our ability to, as knowledge workers, or to have knowledge workers work with some of our data lookups, so that they can insert data and have it pre-populate information as they're indexing, which can also be applied to automation. Also, cascading lists is the same way, as it's part of the structure of an application. So as you're indexing, you'll be able to be presented with the right data for a specific selection. So parent-child lookups and user-defined lists that have a relationship between them. Virtual foldering is another thing that's been on our list for a long time, and we want to be able to embrace the ability to dynamically choose how you want your content viewed for yourself. So if you want to use some of the metadata to drive a folder structure, that's certainly possible with our product, and that's what we want to make possible for for our UI. So we can take that metadata and define a foldering structure, for example, and give you a virtual foldering, if you will, of your content. Intelligent viewing is just more about looking at other options other than the native viewer. We have an intelligent viewing team and viewing technology within OpenText, and we're looking at bringing that as an option for you to use a more advanced viewer beyond just the built-in viewer for AppEnhancer. And then lastly, and I think it goes without saying, that everything is moving towards the cloud, and us being, as a product team, being able to support Kubernetes, full Helm charts across all the different types of cloud platforms out there is a critical piece of the puzzle for AppEnhancer's roadmap, is being able to support all these new types of document management deployments where you're in a multi-cloud environment and you might want to spin up an entire environment in AWS to serve an application that's in GCP. That's entirely what we want to be have possible with this platform, is be able to support authentication and services across all these different platforms. And so that's really how we round it out, is taking what we have and making it more accessible, making it more deployable and scalable, and making it more accessible to our users as well, from a knowledge worker perspective. So I'm going to stop now. Been talking for a little while, and I'm going to open it up for a Q&A session, just kind of get some ideas around, what do you guys see here that you want to see more of or less of, or what kind of questions do you have around what you've seen today in the roadmap and as well as the demo? So Fabio, I don't know if you want to start somewhere, if you've been able to classify some of these questions, but we can certainly open it up.
Yeah, I'll start with a few easy ones just from the beginning. There was someone asking about the PowerPoint presentation, if it's shared in the community, I guess, or if it's just a recording that we make available.
So both. We'll share this recording, even with its hiccups at the beginning, but we'll share this recording, and we'll also share a PDF version of this presentation for you to review with the necessary disclosures on it.
And also, is the UX survey shareable with clients, or is it just for partners at this point?
It's for everyone. We want as many people to take it that interact with this product as possible.
Okay. Very direct question: does 24.4 break a document manager?
It does not. We will tell you when it does.
The next one, I think you already touched during the presentation, but can we rubber band the PDF file? So I guess you already kind of covered it, but I don't know if you want to add anything else to it.
Yeah, I guess I should say that the rubber band OCR is the results may vary based on the scan quality of the image. Some of the images that you saw from me were pretty high quality scans. If you've got signatures, you're trying to scan like handwriting, if you're trying to work with low res quality, your results may vary. And lastly, it's English only today. That's something to note.
I'm just going through all of them here.
Sure.
There is a question about HIPAA compliance for the temp locations of the AE documents. If you're using the OneDrive as a temp location, will comply with HIPAA. And if the connection between AE and Office 365 breaks, will the temp document be deleted?
as best as humanly or as possible. We submit an API call to delete the content in OneDrive in many situations. If the AppEnhancer server closes the connection because the user left it dormant, if the user closes the document window, if the user closes the viewer window and the document window, in any way where the user abandons the document or leaves the session, we remove that document after a specific, either a set amount of time or immediately. Those documents are removed. We have found very rare occurrences, and it literally, you have to unplug network connections at the exact time that you're abandoning your document for it to leave something behind. And so is there a risk, a potential possibility that you would leave a document in that temp location? Yes, there is a potential possibility that you could be interrupted in that call. We make absolutely every effort to remove that content as we move in and out of that user's OneDrive. And so there's really not much more we can do there because it's an API call that we're expecting. Now, if the API call fails, we'll generate an error and that could be audited. And that's probably the best we could do, is say we tried and we failed because of an error that happened on the server. And that's I think that's the best we can do to cover ourselves there. And still leverage the viewer. You can't leverage you can't leverage the Microsoft viewer in a stream. If you're a developer on the call, you can't stream to it and have it just open in a viewer. It needs to be in the ecosystem of Microsoft in order to open it in their native viewing capabilities. OneDrive is that facility. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. There's also another question about Office 365, just to check if the only option is to open it in a new OneDrive tab, or if the view can already be embedded in the current document.
So it opens it in a new tab today. That's already an enhancement that we've had after the pre-release, is to embed it in the viewer itself. Yes. And so we're looking at doing that, and you'll probably see that happen when we bring on the read-write capability and not just the open capability, which is what we have today. It's a read-only view of the document in Office natively.
So I guess something to be considered.
Yeah, for sure. And it's already on the backlog, I believe, Fabio.
Okay, I'll have to review that one.
Yeah.
There's a question about licensing and pricing for these new features. For example, the intelligent indexing. So would those incur additional license costs, or are they all covered in the, I guess, normal license agreement?
So, like, for example, all the stuff that's related to the desktop connector and all of the stuff related to indexing and classification with barcode support, this is all built into the product. The only things you'll see that add additional cost to the product is if you need to come up with a subscription for Aviator or GPT in order for us to integrate with those services, or if you need AppWorks or the Flowable Enterprise version. We're integrating with Flowable open source, so that doesn't even matter for workflow. And so no, these are not chargeable features. We're trying to level the playing field by having a built-in workflow that's no charge, and built-in indexing tools that are at no charge. Yeah.
Cool. There's a question about what JADO enable means. I guess it's an internal.
Yeah. Well, and JADO, no, it's not internal. Yeah, it's not internal anymore. And this was just unveiled at the keynote yesterday, if you saw it from Mark Barrenechea. But JADO is called Jet Assisted Takeoff, and it's to fall in line with the whole aviation concept of everything that they're doing at OpenText these days with Aviator and Pilot and so on. But really, what it is it's our front end framework for UI, and it's a set of tooling. It's a JavaScript front end, some automation tooling, and so on and so forth. There's a framework what we've created for ourselves for all of our UIs to follow. So we have a modernized look and feel that spans all the products. And so we're hopping on that. And given where we're at with our UI, we're in a perfect opportunity to adopt the brand new UI frameworks that OpenText has been building. We were working on Smart UI, which was the previous generation of that. And we did all the back end work, which is good for us, but we didn't do the front end because we knew this was coming. And that's why you didn't see a beta. You saw us jump to this because this is the newest framework for OpenText, and that's what you'll see in the survey that's going out. If you cut that link, you'll see the new framework, the new JADO framework that we're using. And so, yeah, it's a code name internally, but it's becoming external. And Mark Barrenechea mentioned it yesterday in the keynote for Enterprise World, for OpenText World. So certainly all of our products are starting to follow it, and that's why you see it here today.
Okay, is the keynote available for public view? I believe it is.
I believe it is. Yeah, certainly.
Okay. Couple questions around the connector in large files. So first of all, is it going to be able to, I guess we got to do some boundary testings there, but is the connector going to be able to upload very large files like over 2 gigabytes? Because some clients use desktop for these large files, and also ingesting and printing large files are time consuming. Does the connector help optimize this?
It's using the RESTful services, and there's capabilities there to be able to post large streams of data to it. It's something that we would have to performance test to give you exact numbers on where you see it drop or where you get the best performance. I would say to try it for yourself and see if you have issues to open a case with this. But it's something that we are doing performance tests with other parts of our product, so it's something we could certainly do. I don't think we have performance numbers today. We don't really test this performance, right, Fabio, for a connector? I know we do on the back end for our servers.
Yeah, we have. I can bring that up internally. We do have a performance team that can stress test new features. But typically they prefer to do that as we're getting very close to a release like candidate build, or after the release is done, so they can have something very stable to play with. So it's certainly something that we can submit for them to consider and hopefully intake and run those tests so that they can create a nice white paper with the results, and we can hopefully share with everyone. So I can take care of it too.
And that said, I mean, it's really around, being able to, I saw another question coming right. We were speaking there. Yeah, it is something we're going to need to take off and kind of scope out, but certainly, Fabio, I think it's not something we can't do.
Okay. Yeah, I think there are some of them coming in, but then got deleted. So if someone deleted by mistake and wants to resubmit, that's okay. But there's still a few more. Where are we now? This is a good one. How close will flowable capabilities be to Skelta's capabilities?
As best as possible, almost one for one, but I can't tell you that it's the same engine because it's not a .NET engine. So you can't just move your code over, but it's the entire flowable open source engine. With all its forms and all its capabilities. And so you can do quite a lot with that engine. What we're planning to do is build a couple canned workflows like we used to do for Action Technologies workflow, where we had like basic document routing, basic document approval, those kinds of things, so that we can have the ability for users to route documents to one another for review. That's probably one of the simplest use cases that we see demand for that we just don't quite fit today in our core product. So out of the box, I'd like this to be able to at least do those types of things, and then give you as an integrator a full engine to develop on top of, which means forms and scripting and all the stuff that comes within that for Flowable. And I'm not a Flowable expert, but if you go to the Flowable website, it's like flowable.org, you'll see the engine and what its open source capabilities are, and they're quite extensive. Now you could also buy Enterprise, and it integrates with Enterprise similarly. Now we don't sell Enterprise, and we're not even reselling it, but you could do that if you wanted to. But we're embedding the basic Flowable engine into our product, and you'll see that in a couple of other OpenText products already today.
Okay. There's one that I had skipped, sorry. In Doc Manager client, users have the ability to OCR regions of a page. Will that type of feature be coming in the Web Access client?
That is, today you can submit the page to the full text queue and it gets OCR'd, and then you can get the OCR content. It's a little more clunky. So I guess the user's question is, can we instantly OCR a page to get its textual data without submitting it to the OCR engine? That's something we don't do today, but with what you saw today with the rubber band OCR would allow something like that to easily be capable. So I would suggest you to open an idea in the ideas exchange for that. But really, this use case is something that's unique because we do OCR content. We can OCR it coming right into the system, so you can look at the textual view of a document just by clicking text view. But if you want an ad hoc OCR without having that back end, that it doesn't exist in the web product today. So that is a new feature that we abandoned in desktop, and I'm curious that it's so widely used, but it must mean that they don't have a full text engine. So that they're certainly using desktop as their full text engine.
Just give me one sec. With regard to viewing Office docs in the latest release, does it require an integration with OS or Office 365 to view Office docs? Is such an integration needed to edit the docs in Web Access?
So it replaces the OOS integration, and it allows you to configure your user account to connect to Office. So what that means is your backend, your administrator needs to set up OAuth, and that's why we have OAuth in our product. You set up an OAuth provider for Microsoft Online, and once you set that up, then we'll be able to exchange tokens with them on your user's behalf. And so your user can turn it on, and then it'll behind the scenes, it's very similar to OOS, but it goes and opens that document up through the Office Online viewer or for the Office 365 viewer. The thing here is it's read-only today, so you won't be able to manipulate that document any other way other than viewing it and printing it, I suppose. But as far as like adjusting it, editing it, doing markup on it, that's in our next releases. So 25.2, 25.4 timeframe, we'll start to enhance that. I'm not sure quite yet. It's an additional enhancement on top of it. So, but nonetheless, that's our goals for the Office 365 integration is to continue to allow you to use more features inside of a 365 ecosystem, and that will be the top four. Office, PowerPoint, Excel, and Word. Excel, PowerPoint, Word, and Outlook. Those four applications will be able to work natively with Office 365 content. So moving it in and out of the OneDrive. And so today, again, it's read only, and that's probably the biggest caveat is it's just for viewing capabilities right now.
Okay. Will the new SRM features and functionality allow for admins to disable or enable retention in an application at will, or rather than having to rebuild the application and migrate to that?
Our goal is to make it easier to manipulate the retention policies on the apps. You might get warnings that you're causing destructive damage to content if you're going to change policies. But today there's a lot of rigidity, and you have to migrate applications. So we understand that. That's one thing. We're also adding event-driven retention policies and more dynamic retention policies, and so that's what you'll see in the 25.2 release.
Okay. Will redactions for PDF files be added?
That's a good question. We've had some contention with our viewer and redactions related to PDF because of overlays, and I'm not certain where we left that. There's some disclaimers in the product today and some flags that you can flip to make it enabled for yourself, but I'm not sure to what end additional capabilities are needed beyond that, because the problem with redacting PDFs is burning them into the PDF, and we create overlays for those redactions. We don't burn them directly into the file. I'm not sure if that answers the question, but if there's a specific question about how to work around it like we do today, we can have you open a ticket with our support team and take it up. If you want to see specific redaction functionality new that's not in the product today, then that's where we might want to have a discussion around the ideas exchange and see if you can articulate either through an RFE or through the ideas exchange, what specific redaction capability is missing. Because we can mark up, but I think, and I wish Dave Frank was on, he might be, but be able to give us a little bit more detail. But it sounds to me like redactions, they don't want them to burn in. Okay. So yeah, that's something that we have had to disable in the past because compliance wasn't possible, and so we'll need to revisit that and see if it is possible now today.
So there's some comments being added there in the chat about this.
So for Dave, I think I'd like to take that up in our next MetaSource roundtable and see if we can talk about what that feature how that would flow. I think he'd probably be the best to articulate it for us. And so that should be an option to do the burn in.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think the last one I have here, if I missed anything, let us know. But there's a question about if Web Access or Connected would offer the capability to perform REST API calls to other in-house APIs while indexing.
Not today, but that's something that we're looking at when you look at the 26.x releases is data lookups and where and when those take place. Our goal is to be able, would probably use the server to do the lookup and then bring it back to you as the client. So if you were using connector, for example, it would probably all flow through the REST service, because the REST service would call to the server, which would do the lookup and then bring back the details. I hope that makes sense, but we are considering how a data lookup engine would flow for DB and API lookup. So, for example, maybe your list is in a web call, and we just need to go pull the, do an HTTP GET for the list, or it's actually in a data table. So, data lookups can be in different forms, and that's what we're trying to figure out, is where and when those should take place.
Okay. There's another one that came in. As far as the Office and OAuth integration goes, does that mean that CM users who are not part of OAuth will not be able to view Office docs in the Office viewer?
Not using Office 365, because there's no way to authenticate them for that particular use case. So we have to be able to know, you'd have somewhere in the administration of the app, you have to enable your users' ability to use Office by turning on the OAuth. And that's a pretty generic capability, because OAuth for Office and Azure is pretty centralized and well known. Now, somebody on the admin side has to turn that on. So if you don't have that on, then you won't have that feature turned on for your users, and they won't be able to see Office files. CM users are those kind of users. There's no OAuth in that environment to connect to. So that is an important thing to note, is you need to have an OAuth configuration for your environment so that your user has a way of authenticating to Microsoft. And Fabio, and if you want to get more detail about how to configure that so you can have like a hybrid environment, I'm not sure what's possible. I haven't done a lot of configuration in here to say, that you can have a CM user with an Office account. I don't think you can. I think the answer is no. I think you need to have OAuth configured for your backend. But that's a good question that I don't think I can answer just yet. We can take it offline and answer it in the community or as a follow-up to the meeting.
Okay. That was the last one that I had. If I skipped or missed anything, guys, please let me know. Maybe repost the question or highlight it so I can bring it up. But I think I covered everything.
And in the meantime, I just want to, again, stress the use of the community pages and getting in touch with us. I look at these every Friday and try to keep on top of who's bringing ideas in and any, threads that need to be looked at. We're trying to keep on top of these and just make sure that all of our customers have a voice, whether you bring a case to us for an issue or whether you want an enhancement that might not be, immediately needed, but something that you see is important to have in the product. That and this usability test. This is probably the most important as far as reaching out to customers, is we want to get as much involvement in this test as possible so we can see what people think about our changes we're proposing to the UI. We don't want to shock people with it. We want you to come with us and be part of the journey. And so in that case, we certainly want your feedback here. So that said, if there's any additional questions beyond this, please let me know. You're more than welcome to reach out to Fabio and I or the rest of the team. Oh,
yeah,
there's another
one more. Yeah, will there be a way to bulk convert PDF files with subpages to non-sub pages?
There's not that I'm aware of today. That's an interesting use case that we could probably look into. We would have to, here's something that we are looking at that this would probably be part of is there's design work being done and talk about how to build a health check service for this application and this repository, really, so that in behind the scenes we can look at the environment and check its health, check consistency of data, and clean things up when necessary, similar to how we do garbage collection, but more at a larger level to report and collect and do health check on the environment. And so there's a couple things that we look for and scrub today, including like the audit trails, including our log files, including temporary content and things like that. And so in this case, our health check can go and look for consistency between data tables and make sure that you don't have invalid index data or orphan files and indexes in your environment, that there's no data inaccuracies and inconsistencies and things like that. And so that would be a perfect place for something like this, I think. to be able to say, well, as we're doing our health check, let's fix this. Let's bulk convert these files, and because that's something that you can't just do instantly. It's an asynchronous operation. It has to happen behind the scenes and work. It's not something that's a speedy operation if it's a large bit of content. So that's what that service would be able to churn through. So good suggestion. I think that's something I'll add to our list of items in that health check service.
All right. Once again, unless I missed anything, I think that was the last one that came in, and I don't see anything else. So that's all I had for now.
Okay, well, I appreciate everyone taking your time today, and I hope that you can all go and grab the latest release and take a look at it, play with it, see some of these new features that we showed today. Take a look at this presentation offline if you want, and go through it. If you have any questions, let us know. And certainly that UX survey and the community are really great ways for you to get in touch with us and give us your feedback, give us your voice. So I want to thank everybody for joining, though. And if you want to learn more about the product, you can go to our product pages. Or you can go to knowledge base and learn more about 24.4. So again, thanks everyone for joining today, and we'll have this posted within the next couple of days.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.